Hello, Elder Smith here. Now, today I'd like for us to continue where we left off in Genesis, and we're in chapter 39. Now, this returns to focus more on Joseph now, after he has been sold into Egypt. And Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. Now, what makes this interesting is things, despite Joseph's dream, I'm pretty sure there's nothing about the dream that implied that Joseph would be sold into Egypt. This definitely didn't go according to to Joseph's plan, at least. What was probably going through Joseph's mind, what would discourage most of us. And yet it says at the very beginning of this chapter that the Lord was with him and he was prosperous. So despite the fact that he was sold to Potiphar, God was blessing him. He was making him into a great man in the eyes of Potiphar. And it's interesting how this is playing out, because it shows that even when things don't go according to plan, God still blesses us. Sometimes these bumps on the road can lead to the blessings that God is preparing for us. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did prosper in his hands. And Joseph found grace in his sight, and he served him, and he made him overseer over his house and all that he had put into his hand. And it came to pass from the time that he had made him overseer in his house and over all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian's house for Joseph's sake, and the blessing of the Lord was upon all that he had in the house and in the field. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not. And he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he knew not aught he had save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well favored. And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph, and she said, "Lie with me." So, as it turns out, Potiphar, the captain of the guard under Pharaoh, his wife was unfaithful. She looked upon Joseph and started to lust after him and tried to tempt him to lay with her. But he refused and said unto his master's wife, "Behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in this house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me, but thee." Now, he's acknowledging something. He's acknowledging that he is so blessed that there's no one greater in this house than himself, and how Potiphar has not restricted him from anything in the house. All that belonged to Potiphar also belonged to Joseph. But then he continues and says, "Except for thee," meaning he's acknowledging that Potiphar's wife is off limits, which is correct. He knows that this would not only go against Potiphar, but this would also be a sin against God. Joseph has not forgotten this. He hasn't forgotten about God. And he acknowledges that God is blessing him. because thou art his wife, how then can I do this great wickedness and sin against God? There he goes. He's acknowledging that this would also be sinning against God. And it came to pass, as she spake to Joseph day by day, meaning she's not letting up. Each passing day, she's trying to seduce him, trying to tempt him, but he's resisting. Day by day, that he hearkened not unto her, to lie by her, or to be with her. And it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. And she caught him by his garment, saying, Lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand, and he fled and got him out. And it came to pass, when she saw that he had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto them, saying, See, he hath brought in a Hebrew unto us to mock us. He came in unto me to lie with me, and I cried with a loud voice. And it came to pass, when he heard that I lifted up my voice, and cried, that he left his garment with me, and fled, and got him out. And she laid up his garment by her until his Lord came home. And she spake unto him according to these words, saying, The Hebrew servant, which thou hast brought unto us, came in unto me to mock me. And it came to pass, as I lifted up my voice and cried, and he left his garment with me and fled out. And it came to pass, when his master heard the words of his wife, which she spake unto him, saying, After this manner did thy servant to me, that his wrath was kindled. And Joseph's master took him and put him into prison, a place where the king's prisoners were bound. And he was there in prison. So, another bump on the road. Another bad thing has befallen Joseph. He was not only sold into Egypt, God was with him. God was blessing him. He made it so that right under Potiphar himself, he had authority in the house. All was given to him except for Potiphar's wife. And despite the fact that he resisted Potiphar's wife, she falsely accused him of doing something that he shouldn't have been doing. And you know what I'm talking about here. But the fact of the matter is, Potiphar believed his wife, and now he's thrown into prison. So once again, he's uprooted from a house that he was being blessed in and is now in prison. But now if you continue on, which we're nearing the end of this chapter, but if you continue on, here's what it says. But the Lord was with Joseph, and shewed him mercy, and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. So the Lord still continued to be with Joseph, and even in prison, Joseph was being blessed. God, nothing anyone does can stop God from blessing someone when it's in his will to do so. God is nothing, there isn't anything anyone can do that will stop God from blessing Joseph right here, and the same goes for all of us. If God is going to bless you, the world can't stop him from doing so. No matter how many bumps there are on the road, God overpowers those bumps on the road, and sometimes even uses them to lead you, as I've already mentioned before, to the things that he will bless you with. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all the prisoners that were in the prison, and whatsoever they did there, he was the doer of it. The keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand, because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. There we go. Even in prison, God blessed Joseph. Even in prison, Joseph was prospering at the hand of God himself. That shows that no matter how hopeless things get for us, no matter what goes wrong for us, God can still bless us. God can still make us to prosper, even on the surface, when it seems like for even those who are in prison, even when it seems like things are just going wrong, even when people are falsely accused, God can bless you and make you prosperous. And we're not done with Joseph's story yet. It continues on even further, but we will get to that in another video. Remember to study, to show thyself approved, rightfully dividing the word, put on the whole armor of God, and fight the good fight